Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Chapter 3 of International Strategic Management. Today, we're going to talk about the International Environment Assessment Method and how it contributes to the competitive advantage of a firm. This aspect of strategic management will provide an avenue of identifying the strengths and weaknesses of an organization. It draws a pathway to formulate strategies in building company to overcome weaknesses. The outline of our discussion for today will focus on learning objectives, value chain analysis, wherein the firm's activities are divided into a series of value creating steps. Next is the resource-based view of the firm. We're going to analyze the firm as a collection of tangible and intangible resources and organizational capabilities. And next, we're going to focus also with the two approaches to evaluating firm performance. We emphasize both the inclusion of the analysis of financial resources as well as the interest of multiple stakeholders. The purpose of this chapter is to help students understand the importance of the internal environment of the firm. Chapter 2 focuses on assessing the external environment. We turn our attention in this chapter to managing value creating activities within the company. Take note of our keywords value creating activities. At the end of the course, you will develop a skills of identifying internal forces of company that contributes to its competitive and sustainable advantage. If you were going to take a look in your book, the opening case is about the mistake of Twitter. It was a well-known social media platform that was designed to allow users to send out text messages to a circle of friends or followers. The famous term they use to make it trending is the word tweet. Tweet. So it's like the sounds of a bird. While the firm experienced rapid growth in recent years, Twitter has suffered from stalled growth. The main challenge for Twitter is that its core attributes were easy to follow and incorporate into larger social media platforms. Facebook, WhatsApp, and Instagram have all incorporated Twitter-like features in their platforms and are growing much faster than Twitter. While the firm tried to position itself for a sale, there have been no takers as of August 2017. The firm's stock was less than one fourth of the value it had at its peak only 3 years earlier. It's unclear now how Twitter moved forward. In the end, the shareholders suffered. By the end of 2014. Shares were half of what they were in 2010. What went wrong? Why did Twitter go from an exciting, growing firm to a firm with a flat user base so quickly? What could be the firm have done to avoid this situation? Let's try to convert this question into a particular consideration. Let us apply this question to Twitter, considering the importance of internal environment. First, which activities must a firm, let's say that Twitter, effectively manage and integrate in order to attain competitive advantages in the marketplace? And secondly, which resources and capabilities of Twitter must create and nurture in order to sustain a competitive advantage? You have something in your mind? I guess so. You might have an idea that Twitter should develop unique offerings that would find it difficult to imitate resources. More so, you may consider Twitter could have regularly expanded their services. Identifying the key resources of Twitter and finding ways how they can leverage the value of their assets is one of the considerations of its strategic management initiative. Currently, Twitter is following celebrity gossips and position itself as a target for another firm to acquire them. Analyzing their position and creating value to their offering is called value chain analysis. Value chain analysis views the organization as a sequential process of value creating activities. Such an approach is very useful for understanding the building blocks of competitive advantage. In competitive terms, value is the amount that buyers are willing to pay for what a firm provides for them. And a firm is profitable to the extent that the value that it receives exceeds the total cost involved in creating the product or service. In this early time of our discussion, I already included the specific examples of value chain in service organization, particularly primary value chain activities for retail are they have a program like partnering with vendors, purchasing goods, managing distributing inventory, operating stores, marketing, and sale. For engineering services, they had conducted some research and development. Okay, they improve the engineering facilities and system. They update their designs and solutions. They also conduct some marketing, sales, and services. As we go along with our discussion, one by one, I'm going to give you a specific example of these particular value chain activities. Value chain analysis is described in Michael Porter's seminal book. The title is Competitive Advantage. So if you're going to take a look in your book, Exhibit 3.1, it illustrates Porter value chain, which consists of both primary and support activities. So let's start with primary activities. There are five categories of primary activities in an organization that is competing within any industry. These contribute to the physical creation of the product or service, the sale and transfer to the buyer, and service after sale. We have inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing and sales, and so as service. The second value chain of Porter is support activities. These are activities either add value by themselves or add value through important relationship with both primary activities and other support activities. It also focus on competing in any industry and can be divided into four categories. So these are procurement, technology development, human resource management, and general admission. You can see in Exhibit 3.1 the value chain, primary and support activities, that how primary activities was being supported by support activities. Putting your organization in broadest context without boundaries could position your company within more encompassing value chain that includes your firm's suppliers, customer, and alliances. This could identify how value is created for other organizations in the overall supply chain or distribution channel. Now, we will address each of the five primary activities. The first categories of primary activities is inbound logistics. Inbound logistics are associated with the receiving, storing, and distributing of inputs to the product. It includes material handling, warehousing, inventory control, vehicle scheduling, and returns to supplier. A good example for this inbound logistics that um, include value activities is Toyota. Okay, they have an exemplary use of JIT inventory system or just-in-time inventory system in which parts deliveries arrives at its assembly plants only hours before they use. This allows Toyota to fill buyers 5 new car orders in just 5 days. Our next primary activity category is operations. Operation include all activities associated with transforming the final product form, such as machining, assembly, equipment, testing, printing, and facility operations. The good example is Shaw Industries, so it is now a part of Berkshire Hathaway, the world's largest carpet manufacturer. They became known for its strong concern for the natural environment. They have received numerous awards for their recycling efforts. If you can take a look in Strategy Spotlight 3.1, it discusses Chipotle's unique approach to improving its operational efficiency. The next primary activity is outbound logistics. So it's more on the distributions of goods. The activities of outbound logistics are associated with the collecting, storing, and distributing the product or service to buyers. They include finished goods warehousing, material handling, delivery vehicle operations, order processing, and scheduling. Our example is the use of electronic data interchange or the EDI for Campbell Soup. So this is American product wherein Campbell has forged close links with their customers to both forecast future demand as well as determine what products require replenishment. Some of the factors to consider are, of course, in terms of outbound logistics, is effective shipping processes. It must be on time and the accurate date and the accurate location with the efficient or minimized shipping costs. Okay, that would really help to create not just only for the company but also with the buyer. Okay, they could minimize the expenses of the shipping fee. The next category under primary activity is marketing and sales. Marketing and sales activities are associated with purchases of products and services by end users and the inducements to get them to make purchases. They include advertising, promotion, sales force, quoting, channel selection, channel relations, and pricing. A good example is Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes-Benz car is being used in the movie James Bond Spectre in the year 2015. It was featured by Daniel Craig and it becomes one of the blockbuster movie of James Bond. Nowadays, some of the movies, some of the event like NBA and FIFA World Cup, you will see a lot of advertisement featuring and featuring the different name of sponsors and different name of the firm. Our next category is service. This includes all activities associated with providing service to enhance the value of products such as installation, repair, training, part supply, and product adjustment. Okay? Um, a particular example of this kind of value chain activity is the internet-based retailer. Okay, now you may experience some of the customer service online. If you need some replacement, if you need some information, if you want to inquire something to the company, you can contact them and you could send them a messages through online. Okay. And another thing is that services, there are factors that you have to consider. Okay. It like you have to respond quickly to the customer needs and you have to provide the quality service personnel and you have to provide an ongoing training. According to J.W. Marriott, okay, it's their principle of having an excellent service in hospitality industry that you should make your employee happy. If your employee is happy, Okay, they're going to work happily, and it will reflect to the customer. They're going to be satisfied and going to go home also happy. Next is, let's proceed to the supports activity. The first category under secondary activity is procurement. It refers to the function of purchasing inputs used in a firm's value chain, not the purchase input themselves. It includes planning, scanning of the prices, they conduct some bidding, assessment. Okay, it is not just you're going to buy the item. Purchased inputs include raw materials, supplies, and other consumable items, as well as such assets as machinery, laboratory, equipment, office buildings, and the building. Procurement is after with the optimizing quality and speed of the product. It also incorporates minimizing the associated costs in delivery and uh, uh, purchasing of an item. If you're going to take a look in the kissflow.com, they had recorded some of the top 5 procurement best practices in 2020. Number one is the cloud-based procurement tools. Okay, you will notice high-performing organizations are leading the pack on digital procurement practices. Okay, they also have some spend transparency, which is the baseline to unlock potential savings and make headway into achieving operational excellence. Then they also involve the supplier. This kind of value chain activities assures, okay, the development or the improvement of the source to contract process, and it encourage supplier engagement. They use e-procurement, like there's a comprehensive vendor dashboard, pre-made contract template, digital process, and a lot more. Our next category is technology development. Every value activity embodies technology. The array of technologies employed in most firms is very broad, ranging from technologies used to prepare documents and transport goods to those embedded in processes and equipment or the product itself. Technology that is related to the product and its features supports the entire value chain, while other technology development is associated with particular primary or support activities. Okay? If you could read the book, there is a specific French firm. The name is Technique. They had succeeded by using technology to create value for their customers. Okay, the firm is a leader in project management, engineering, and construction for the energy industry. And another example is Starbucks. Okay, we already mentioned this in chapter 2, how Starbucks had used technology, okay, not just to improve the coffee related processes to ensure the consistency of in taste and quality along with cost saving, but they use technology to connect with their customers. Okay, they every store, okay, they have a free and unlimited Wi-Fi, and back in 2008 the company had launched a platform wherein they could ask the customer what they want about their products, and they could the customer could suggest on a particular product that they want to develop for the Starbucks. So the use of technology. Okay, the human resource management, another category of secondary activity, it consists of activities involved in the recruiting, hiring, training, development, and compensation of all types of personnel. It supports both individual primary and support activities, example, hiring of engineers and scientists, and the entire value chain, example, negotiations with labor union. So this pertain to taking care of your employee, how you're going to make your employee competitive, how are you going to influence your employees uh, to make your vision and mission into an application. A good example we have is the JetBlue Airways. They have an innovative, family-friendly initiative and the firm's program for attracting new employees. The style of their recruitment is they only recruit employee for 1 year contract so that they could travel and give them an opportunity to decide what else they might like to do. Human resource management or HRM or HR includes creating quality work environment to retain employee. If the employee is being paid well, they are mentored, challenged, not threatened. They experience promotion. They have a capacity to involve in decision making and a lot more. Okay. So the tendency is that the employee will stay for a longer time. One of the manifestation that an institution or an organization is a good employer if you could see that there are a lot of employees who are with them for a couple years for a lot for so long, okay, for a long period of time. That's a good indication that that company, okay, had created a value chain for their employees. For the general administration, it consists of a number of activities including general management, planning, finance, accounting, legal government affairs, quality management, and information system. General admission, unlike other support activities, they typically supports the entire value chain and not the individual activities. General administration is the key source of competitive advantage, not just as overhead expenses. Okay, um, the general administration involves effective planning system to attain overall goals and objective. It also covers the excellent relations with diverse stakeholders and effective information technology to coordinate and integrate value creating activities across the value chain. And lastly, general administration has the ability, okay, or the ability of the top management to anticipate and act, okay, on key environmental trends and events to create long values, culture, and strong values, culture, and reputation. Now, with all these categories of primary and secondary value chain activities, what are their relationship, okay, from one another? Okay, so we mentioned that interrelationship is a collaborative and strategic exchange between value chain activities, either within firms or between firms. The strategic exchange relationship involve exchange of resources such as information, people, technology, or money that contributes to the success of the firm. That is why manager must not ignore the importance of relationship among value chain activities. It must work harmoniously. Okay? The management, okay, should not just consider the internal environment benefits or favor, but also it must reflect to the customer, okay, by considering the integration of customer into the value chain, okay, like creating individualized product or soliciting ideas for products and services. Okay, that's it's the interrelationship among value chain activities. In this exhibit 3.4, you will see a particular example of value chain in service industry. We already mentioned this a while ago. The value chain might configured differently depending on the type of businesses or a firm that is engaged. For example, travel agency. Okay, travel agency adds value by creating an itinerary that includes the necessity of a traveler, like transportation, accommodation, and activities. So it is customized depending on the client budget and the travel date, because if it is a peak season, it's quite expensive. Okay, for retailers, they add value by developing expertise in procurements, and uh, they they improve the manner of their promotion, and they put a lot of decorations in displaying their goods in store. Now we are done with the identifying the internal environment of a firm by discussing a particular activity such as primary and secondary activities according to Porter. And using these resources, we applied the concept of value chain analysis. Okay, so we had given several examples on how these forces, internal forces, had been used to create or improve value as a strategy to satisfy, to win, and encourage our customer to patronize our product. Now we are moving to the second part, okay, the resource-based view of the firm. The resource-based view of the firm, or the RBV, combines two perspectives. Number one, the internal analysis of phenomena within a company, and secondly, an external analysis of the industry and its competitive environment. It extends SWOT analysis by combining internal and external perspective, and it provides a useful framework for exploring why some firms are more successful than others. Okay, so throughout this section, we're going to focus on the importance of integrating value creating activities. Example, how competitive advantage are created or sustained through the bundling of several resources in unique combinations. So not individual resources, but with the combination of every resources of the company, and involving also the external environment. More so, resource-based view of the firm shows that firms' competitive advantages are due to their endowment or quality or strategic resources that are, take note of this term, valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and costly to substitute. We're going to expand this VRCINCS. Okay, so take note again. The quality of the product or the services. Okay, it should be valuable, rare, costly to imitate, and costly to substitute. Resources can lead to a competitive advantage. So when we say value, it is a word of great deal for money. So worth to pay. When we say rare and usually good, or you cannot find it in a large number of establishment or a firm. And the third characteristic is that it is hard to duplicate. It is really costly to imitate or counterfeit. That's why you will see that branded products are being given a license by intellectual property rights committee in international agencies. Okay, and lastly, it is difficult to substitute. Okay, you're gonna find the right exact amount, the right specific description of raw materials that you need to use. Okay, you will discover the similarities, but you will still recognize the original product and the original uh, experience with the services. Okay, so for the resources, okay, there are two categories: intangible resources and tangible resources. And together with, there's another resources, the organizational capabilities. A specific example for the type of tangible firm resources is you have the cash, equipment, machinery, physical plants, property, inventory. So these are assets that are relatively easy to identify. And also the example of that is we have the FedEx. Okay, they have a computer-based job competency test. When I was in college, I was able to work in Pizza Hut in the Philippines, and for us to be promoted, we have this kind of competency based job test as well. Okay, a computer based, so we have to undertake some examinations for us to recall all of the important temperature, the name of the product, the right measurements, the standard procedures, okay, in Pizza Hut Philippines, okay, for us to be able to be promoted. So that is a particular example of value chain activities of that company. The next type of firm resources is the intangible resources. Okay, so these are much more difficult for competitors to account because you cannot count it by your hands. Unlike tangible, you can touch it and you can measure it by counting. But for this time is that it is difficult to account, okay, or to imitate, okay. So they are embedded in unique routines and practices. Okay, this includes human resource management, innovation resources, and reputation resources. Okay, so a good example of this intangible resources are like the trademarks, the logo. They are being patent. You could not use their logo without permit or without an authorization. You can only use the logo, the brand name, okay, if you franchise, okay, that company, if you franchise their services or their products. Example for intangible resources in terms of technology is, as I had mentioned, is the trade secrets, okay, the formula, okay, the process, okay, for the organizational resources is the effective planning process, the method of evaluation, and the control system. For organizational capabilities, it is not specific for tangible or intangible asset. Okay, they are competencies or skills that the firm employs to transform inputs into outputs. Okay, so for example, the Gillette's capabilities to combine several technologies in its wet shaving products, and how Apple has combined and leveraged assets and technologies. For example, they have an outstanding customer service. They have excellent product development capabilities. They have a superb innovation processes and flexibility in manufacturing processes. And lastly, they have the ability to hire, motivate, and retain human capital. For a firm to earn a sustainable competitive advantage, a resource must be valuable, rare, difficult for competitors to imitate, and difficult to substitute. Okay, so let us address these four criteria and their implication. When we say valuable, resources are valuable when they enable a firm to formulate and implement strategies that improve its efficiency or effectiveness, like what the SWOT analysis framework suggests. Okay, the firm improve their performance only when they either exploit opportunities or neutralize or minimize the threat. Secondly, is the resource rare? If competitors or potential competitors also possess the same valuable resource, it's no longer a source of competitive advantage because all of these firms have the ability to exploit the resource in the same way. A common strategies based on such a resource would give no one firm an advantage. Okay? For a resource to provide a competitive advantage, it must be uncommon, that is rare relative to other competitors. Third one, can the resource be imitated easily? Inimitability is a key to value creation because it constrains competition because you're the only one who have it. They could not imitate that. That's why some company they applied for intellectual property rights or patency. That's why we have some trademarks wherein they are the only one who could use that kind of trademark. If a resource is inimitable, then any profits generated are more likely to be sustainable. And when it is difficult to imitate, they could not find any similar materials to substitute KD resources or capabilities of the company to stay ahead in competition. For imitation to be avoided, one of four conditions need to be satisfied. First, physical uniqueness. By definition, it is inherently difficult to copy. Examples would include a beautiful resort location, mineral rights, or Merck's and Company's pharmaceutical patents. Okay. Secondly, is the path dependency. This means that the resources are unique and therefore scarce because of all that has happened along the path followed in their development and or accumulation. Okay, we could have an example like Gerber Products Company and Ashley Furniture. Okay, if you could take a look on the strategy spotlight 3.4, discusses how XYZ printing is using its experience with 2D printers to build a path-dependent advantage in the 3D printing business. The third is the causal ambiguity. This means that would-be competitors may be thwarted because it is impossible to disentangle the causes or the possible explanations of either what the value resource is or how it can be created. A good example is the 3M process of innovation as well as Yahoo and Twitter's inability to match Google's ability to innovate and launch products. And lastly is the social complexity. So this includes like soft issues such as culture, trust, and leadership. Example include interpersonal relationship among the employees and managers of our firms, its culture and its reputation among suppliers and customers. Although complex physical technology is not included in this category of imperfect inimitability, the exploitation of physical technology in a firm typically involves the use of socially complex resources. And going back to the attributes of competitive advantage is the fourth requirement for a firm to be a source of sustainable competitive advantage is are substitutes readily available. Okay, so that there must be no strategically equivalent valuable resources that are themselves not rare or inimitable. What are the criteria for sustainable competitive advantage? Okay. Resources and capabilities must be rare and valuable as well as difficult to imitate or substitute in order for the firm to attain competitive advantages that are sustainable over time. If resources and capabilities do not meet any of the four criteria, it will be difficult to develop any type of competitive advantage in the short or long run. If resources and capabilities are difficult for competitors to imitate or substitute, firms could attain some level of competitive parity. Only when all criteria are satisfied with competitive advantages be sustained over time. The key point in this section is that even though a firm may have a source of competitive advantage that appears to satisfy the four criteria for sustainability, some or good deal of its profits may be retained or appropriated by its employees or managers instead of going to the owners or shareholders. Okay, so let us address four conditions as explained. The extent to which managers and employees will be able to extract a proportionately higher level of profits they generate. Okay, first is like employee bargaining power, employer replacement cost, employee exit cost, and manager bargaining power. So in the future, if you will be working in a company or you will manage your own business, you have to consider the win-win position between the employee and the employers. Okay, so you have to gain their trust because when they are being trusted, the more they're going to do their job. If they feel valued, okay, the more they're going to put value on their job. And as a manager, okay, you should consider also your bargaining power of communicating the interests of employee, okay, towards the growth of the company, and then also connect it with the company missions and visions. It should be intertwined. It should have a good relationship. Okay, that is the generation and the distribution of the firm profits. The company is benefiting from the income, and as well as the employee is benefiting from the values that had been given to them by the company and the customer. This action putting a company value towards their resources and value towards their employees, okay, will not be possible if they are not benefiting from one another. That's why in this first two parts, the different value chain analysis and the resource based uh, firm, okay, the view of firm is that the relationship must be connected. There must be a distribution of benefits or profits. Okay, all of the stakeholders must benefit to the value that had been created to the different resources of the company. And for the last part of our assessment of internal environment, is evaluating performance using two approaches. Okay, in this particular area, this is just only an overview, okay, of the different approaches that we can use to evaluate the film performance because it would take another 45 minutes if we're going to study the different financial ratio analysis. Okay, it will be covered in the next coming chapters. How can we evaluate firm performance? We can evaluate the performance of the firm by using balanced scorecard analysis and by using financial ratio analysis. The balanced scorecard helps to provide a meaningful integration of many issues that come into play when evaluating a firm's performance. It is a set of measures that provide top managers with a fast but comprehensive view of the business. In a nutshell, it includes financial indicators, operational measures, uh, customer satisfaction, internal processes, and the organization's innovations and improvement activities. So the whole operation. Okay. So that covers the balance scorecard. So if we're going to take a look on the next slide. If you are going to take a look on the figure, the balance scorecard, it enables the manager to consider their business from four key perspectives. Okay, number one is that in the perspective of customers, for us to achieve our vision, how should we appear to our customer? Okay, next is to through finances. Okay, to succeed financially, how should we appear to our shareholders? And for the internal perspective, okay, to satisfy our shareholders and customer, what business process, okay, must we excel at? Okay, that is for internal perspective. And lastly, okay, in the perspective of innovation and learning, okay, can we continue to improve and create value? So it is a matter of sustainability. Could we still be able to stay in the arena of competition, and if we could be able to sustain a quality product and services? The second approach on how we can evaluate the performance of a firm is through the finances, okay, or the financial statement or situation of the company. Okay, some company are using a short-term solvency or liquidity. So it is the capacity or the ability of the company to pay their debts in excess of their income, including also the long-term solvency measure, then how they manage their assets or turnover, a their strategy in increasing their profit and their market value. As I said, I'm not going to discuss here particularly the different formula. Okay, we're going to do that in the next coming chapter. So that's I just want to emphasize that you can measure this strategic advantages or competitive advantages of a company using evaluating the financial status of the company. The proper approach of a meaningful ratio analysis must include the analysis of how ratios change over time. That's why some of them are studying like the comparing it to the history. Okay? And some of them are doing comparison with industry norm. Okay? When evaluating a firm's financial performance, it is important to compare it with industry norm. Okay? That is, a firm's current ratio or profitability may be impressive at first glance. However, it may pale when compared to industry averages. And the third one is the comparisons with key competitors. Referring back to chapter 2, firms with similar strategies are considered members of strategic groups in given industry. Furthermore, competition tends to be more intense among competitors within groups than across group. Okay, so thus one can gain valuable insights into a firm's financial and competitive position if comparisons are made between a firm and its most direct competitors. Okay? That's why in general perspective, one of the key indicator for a company to enter into merging or acquisition is that they check the financial liquidity or the financial status of one company. So they use this approach if they're going to acquire, if they're going to have some have a partnership with that company using financial ratio analysis. Customer's perspective is the measure of firms' performance that indicate how well firms are satisfying customers' expectations. Managers must translate general mission statement on customer service into specific measures that reflects the factors that really matter to customer. Internal business perspective is the measure of firm's performance that indicate how well a firm internal processes, decision, and actions are contributing to customer satisfaction. Okay, creating a value chain activities in company operations by utilizing resources effectively and efficiently helps improve the competitive advantage of a company as well as build a reputation that reflects employees, customer, and suppliers' highest level of satisfaction. So if you are a manager, so you have to articulate the goals for customer, providing them the right time, of service and a good quality, and of course you check your the processes input costs to the output costs. Okay, that could be one of the perspective, okay, of taking out competitive advantages. Now we understand the importance of assessing the internal environment can give competitive and sustainable advantage for its stakeholder. So we have to manage the value creating activities within the company and strengthening its relationship to the outside environment. Remember, the key to the sustainability of advantages is the creation of bundle of activities that satisfy the four criteria, and those are rare, valuable, difficult to imitate, and difficult to substitute. And to know if strategies are effective, we discuss approaches of evaluating firm performance. Okay, through balanced scorecard and financial ratio analysis. Okay, I hope that by learning this chapter, you will gain knowledge on how you're going to manage your business and career strategically and intellectually. You are going to apply them. For further questions and clarifications, just send me a message and I will be much willing to give you a clarifications and information and answer to your queries. And that's it. This is your professor, Dr. Christian Joy S. Simpao. Thank you.